everybody within the Democratic Party knows, and I think enough Americans that are paying attention to politics right now know that Governor Gavin Newsom of California, he wants to throw his hat in the ring. He wants to be a contender against Joe Biden. I know he said that he's not interested, he's not thinking about it, that he's only thinking about California, yada, 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 yada. By the way, yes, of course, DeSantis is thinking about running. And let me just say that right now, the polls in his favor, even among so called Republicans, it's overinflated. This is being worked by the never Trumpers within the Republican Party. They don't want Trump to run. They want Trump and Trump supporters thinking that Gavin Newsom is the guy. Remember, the Republican establishment, they love to pick who it is the rest of us are supposed to get excited about. We were supposed to get excited about witness protection Romney. We were supposed to get excited about John McCain. We were supposed to get excited about Bob Dole, and Mrs. Dole didn't get excited about Bob Dole. It's why he had to go on TV and start hawking Viagra when he was like 80 years old, because his own wife couldn't get excited by him anymore. That all said, don't believe all of the polling that shows DeSantis way up over Donald Trump. Double digit lead. First of all, it's 2 years out. Right now, DeSantis, among conservative media outlets, it's all positive, wonderful, glowing reporting that's being done on him. And the mainstream media, they're walking a fine line where on the one hand, they want to get him for the don't say gay and the things that he's done in Florida that they disagree with. Yet on the other hand, they understand that they need to build a little momentum for this guy so that he can, overtake Donald Trump. If Ron DeSantis were to run and to become the nominee, first of all, the media will turn immediately. All of a sudden, you'll start finding things out about Ron DeSantis that you didn't know, because right now they want to make him a choir boy and they want to make Donald Trump the fondling priest from Our Lady of the Five Fingers. I get it. I get it. We know what's going on. I helped Ron DeSantis get elected the first time when I was live on the air in Orlando, Florida. Like Ron DeSantis, I've told you this before. I think he's done an excellent job in Florida. But I can also tell you he's got his own deep state connections. He was a JAG attorney when he was in the United States Navy. He was overseas, and it was his job to basically get officers who had, violated laws in other nations to get them off. So, he's used to backroom dealing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, don't totally buy into the full choir boy narrative about him, and understand that he did not move Florida further to the right. The state moved him further to the right. Don't miss what I'm telling you here. Remember, Charlie Crist was a Republican governor from Florida. Jeb Bush was a Republican governor from Florida. Rick Scott was a Republican governor from Florida. Um, DeSantis came right out of their mold. He was an easy shoe in there. They liked that establishment route type Republican, but there were many within the state who really became really conservative under Donald J. Trump. And they bought into Make America Great. They bought into Trumpism, and they like it. And they moved the governor to the right. I told you, this goes back to during the pandemic. He was locking everything up just like every other governor. And he certainly wasn't going to be outdone by Mario Cuomo and Gavin Newsom. So he was shutting down beaches. And it wasn't until a pastor in the state of Florida, Rodney Howard Brown, a big charismatic church over in the Tampa area, about 5,000 people. They refused to close because Florida churches were closed. Hey, I got a rhino for a governor here in Ohio. You whiner. And he wanted everything closed. He kind of hinted that churches ought not meet. He never actually, by executive action, said churches couldn't meet. Now, half the churches in this state didn't because they didn't think they could. I stayed open. I didn't close one Sunday during the pandemic. Not one, not one. And when we were in the building, we didn't skip every other pew. We didn't do any of that. And masking, even when it was mandatory across the state, was optional at our door. We weren't going to tell people they had to, and we weren't going to tell people that they couldn't. It was strictly their personal conscious choice, period. That said, DeWiner kept the churches open. DeSantis didn't. And it was when Rodney Howard Brown refused to shut down his church in Tampa, 5,000 people still gathering during the great lockdown, the stay at home, and when he was arrested and handcuffed by Florida State Police and let out of his church building with all the news cameras rolling, national and local and regional, it was staff members of the governor who said, this is not a good look. This is going to kill us with the conservative base and the Christian right. And it was then that Ron DeSantis had his come to Jesus moment and became a modified Trump. Now, I like what he's done. I like the fact he went after Disney. I like the fact that he's going after Big Pharma and everything that has gone on with the Love Potion #9 problems that we're having and the adverse effects, which we're not supposed to talk about. But all that's being done because the Wizard of Oz, Ron DeSantis, there are people behind him, behind the curtain, that are actually making all that happen. He gets to come out and give the big speech and get the big, yeah lines. But it's people within Ron DeSantis' sphere that have made him conservative like he is, and thus bringing Florida further right. He won't have that in Washington. He'll be surrounded by deep state swamp, and by the way, kind of like Mike Pence, he won't mind that. Just stamina, and somebody will push back on media and the lies, but you got a little Trump fatigue, and you're thinking that, oh, there's just so much baggage attached to him. Don't take the liberal bait. Don't take the lying legacy corporate corrupt mainstream media bait. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. But Gavin Newsom out there in California has decided he wants to be president. And so he's now all of a sudden, he's done a complete 180. Here's a guy that wants to shut down prisons in the state, and he is. Here's a guy that's shutting down coal-powered plants in his state, and he is, and they're having rolling blackouts. They can't keep the lights on in California. Here's a guy that had the most overreaching COVID mandates of any state in the union, and some places like LA County still do. And if you're an actor in the entertainment industry, you still can't work TV or movies unless you have the Fauci ouchie and the multiple variations and doses thereof. Although everybody else has lifted all of those mandates and requirements. So he's also considering giving reparations to black people who live in his state if they can prove ancestry to a slave. Kind of like all those white dudes that all of a sudden became Native American when it meant they could open up a casino. So how many black people in California are going to be able to prove that they got some slave in them? Especially if it means a $280,000 payout, which is what is being proposed. California, which keeps raising taxes to fund all of the illegals that live there. But now all of a sudden, Gavin Newsom is crying that there is a problem at the border, and he's looking at the Biden administration saying, you got to own this. See, Title 42 is about to expire. That came into being under Donald Trump. The Title 42 basically gave border agents more authority and control to be able to expedite sending people back from where they came. Gavin Newsom is saying that if that is allowed to expire by the Biden administration, it is absolutely going to be like the dam collapsing, and the floodwaters into California will be unsustainable. Now, he's doing that for two reasons. One, it is a reality. He's having a little bit of a reality check. And the fact that Republicans made a lot of gains during the midterms that the media is not talking about. They keep talking about, the party is pulled away from Donald Trump and he didn't get the big wave, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, the wave was done in from the inside. Mitch McConnell made sure there was no red wave, especially when it came to the Senate. That was done on purpose. He didn't want Trump Republicans in the Senate, period. So he actually worked with the Democrats in key states and in key races, underfunding the Republicans, underhelping them, and I am sure maybe even supplying a little bit of dirt or innuendo on some of their own candidates. Because Mitch McConnell didn't want Trump Republicans in the Senate. Mitch McConnell is a dirtbag, just like Anthony Fauci. Mitch McConnell is a dirtbag. Boys and girls, that's your new phrase for the day. Say it with me. Mitch McConnell, say it. Mitch McConnell, one more time. Mitch McConnell is a dirtbag. Say it with me again. Mitch McConnell is a dirtbag. One more time at normal speed. Mitch McConnell is a dirtbag. He worked hard to make sure Republicans didn't have a red wave. But they had one in California that nobody's talking about. All these congressional pickups in deep, deep blue, to the point of almost being so navy blue, they're almost like you can't tell, is this a navy blue sock or a black sock? Blue districts went Republican. Because Republicans decided in California to play the Democrat game. Ballot harvesting. I've said ad nauseum on here, yes, the voting needs to be fixed in states. But until it does, let's use the Democrat, even the things that we can't stand, like the early voting, let's do it all so that we can get those governor seats, so that we can get those attorney general seats in those states, and then change the laws. You vote on voting day, period. You vote in person, and it's a paper ballot, and you have proper ID. So Gavin Newsom is in some political hot water out there now. Even though he's just won re-election, he sees the writing on the wall. And he wants to, as he jogs to become, a president, contender, he's taking a stand on immigration. This is all going to backfire. And Biden, addle-minded, Dementia Joe, walked Gavin right into this. Because, again, Gavin's got the hair, the teeth, and the look. He just doesn't have the brain capacity to actually really do anything. I read an article today. Kamala Harris is much more political savvy than we realized. Oh, my word. Do you see how desperate the Democrats are to throw old Joe overboard? That now they're going to start giving us positive things and positive spin on Kamala. Camilla thinks she's a hottie Harris. But Gavin Newsom, he wants that job. Despite all of his feigning, no, I don't. No, I don't. Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does. The problem is, he's now going to show himself tough against the Biden administration on immigration. And Biden's just going to tell him, tough suey. Abbott will just build the wall himself in Texas. Carrie Lake, if she gets Arizona, she'll build a wall there. What are you going to do, Gavin? You egged all this on, and now you're acting like it's a problem? It's been a problem since the day Joe Biden took office. You soulless, characterless, convictionless, hollow Ken doll. Gavin Newsom is nothing more than the Democratic version of Mitt Romney. Plastic smile, Ken doll hair, fake and as hollow as a plastic Mr. Potato Head. But this will be interesting to see. Gavin Newsom, this is going to collapse us. And Joe Biden saying, good, because if your state totally tanks, nobody's going to want you to be president. Do you understand how you just got played, Gavin? You stupid schmuck. That's some more insight for this afternoon.